Okay, we talked about it a little bit earlier. We have on the phone right now a man who's working hard to be the Republican nominee for the state of Virginia, running for governor, Glenn Youngkin. Hello, Glenn.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good
Of course.
Good to have you.
Well,
I'm right here in Lynchburg this morning.
Oh, you
We
are?
got in last night, and I had a quick stop at the Texas Inn at the Tea Room for a couple cheesy westerns, and
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm happy to be in Lynchburg.
Oh, if I'd have known that, I would have had you stop by and do the interview right here and bring me a greasy cheesy.
He's on a diet, Glenn. Don't let him fool you. He's not supposed to have that. So
No better way to end the day on the campaign trail than with a couple cheesy westerns.
that is true. That is true. So you are in Lynchburg now. You are originally from the Richmond and Virginia Beach area. Is that correct?
That's correct. I was born in Richmond, a little part of Richmond called Bon Air. And in 7th grade, my dad lost his job, and my whole family, behind my mom's great initiative, we moved down to Virginia Beach, and I went to middle school and high school there. And we've been in Northern Virginia for the last 27 years, my lovely wife, Suzanne, and our 4 kids.
And looks like you've been married for a while, 26 years. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's quite a blessing. The Lord knew what he was doing. He actually knew that I needed Suzanne a lot more than she needed me.
That's how it works sometimes.
That is right. Well, we did have a listener who sent in because we shared a little bit about your background. We're just wanting to get to know a little bit better those men and women who are seeking the nomination for the GOP. One of the things that we hear a lot here on the show is that this part of the country, this part of Virginia, feels like that we are kind of at the mercy of Northern Virginia, and that Northern Virginia doesn't necessarily share the values of the people who live in this part of the Commonwealth. And they want to know, how are you going to represent the values of the people who live here?
Well, it's such a great question, and I will start just with a little bit of my own background. So I've got a 30-year business career, and through my business career, what I have learned, because I had a chance to actually rise up and run the company that I started at when it was very small, I learned that you actually have to serve your customers. And in this case, the government's customers are all Virginians, not just one group of Virginians. And as I've traveled around Virginia extensively and met thousands and thousands and thousands of people and listened, what I've heard consistently, not just in Northern Virginia or not just in the Valley or not just in Southwest Virginia or South Side or Virginia Beach, Hampton Roads, is that Virginians are worried. Virginians are worried about the economy, their jobs, what's going to happen in their schools, our constitutional rights, and the fact that they are being infringed upon mightily. These are consistent themes across Virginia, not just in one part of Virginia. And I have to say, as I've really mapped out how to win in November, and I have a very clear plan on how to win in November, those shared values are clearly held in Northern Virginia as well. And I think the biggest challenge that the Republican Party has had, and boy, we keep finding new ways to lose. I mean, our statewide election record over the last 11 years is terrible. Of course, we haven't won. I always say 29 more years and we're going to join Moses in the desert.
Sure.
But we have just absolutely forgotten the fact that the shared values, the shared conservative values of small government versus big government, low taxes, low regulations, our constitutional rights must be protected. The fact that schools need to be open, there needs to be actually a focus on students, not teachers' unions. These are shared values across the entire Commonwealth, and Northern Virginians, many, many, many Northern Virginians, more than people would ever expect based on the election outcomes over the last few years, feel the same way. And I think the Republican Party has just done a terrible job of connecting with people in Northern Virginia and helping everybody understand those shared values. So I believe we can actually stand up for all of Virginia and present our conservative shared values, win in November, and actually put Virginia back where she belongs as the best state in America to live and work and raise a family.
Well, it's been a while since we felt that way. That's for sure.
Glenn, I had a business. I had a business for 20 years. It wasn't nearly as successful as yours, but I did have to do payroll taxes and insurance and workman's comp, all the fun things you get to do. It was in the construction area. And so I understand what it means to run a business. and the burden that goes along with being a small business. I want to know what you plan on doing if you become governor, because who knows where we're going to be at as far as COVID goes, and opening up our state. And you talked about small government. I'm all about small government, and the regulation that even affected the little corner of the construction industry that I was involved with. How are you going to go back opening up the state if you become the governor of Virginia?
Well, the first thing we're going to do is lift all these restrictions. And I think we just have to open. And what we've seen in states like Florida, where Governor DeSantis has led by keeping business open, keeping schools open, and, oh, by the way, keeping churches open, we've seen that, in fact, that the state has been thriving, and students have been educated, and there has not been anywhere near the grave consequences that I think the left actually constantly threatens everyone with. And I think what Governor Northam has done over the course of the last year has absolutely been terrible. He has actually forced folks to make a decision between lives and livelihood. And I think this is a false choice. I think Virginians are smart. I think we can do things safely. Study after study after study shows that schools should be open. We can, in fact, gather more than 25 people outside. I was listening to an advertisement for Roanoke College's graduation. Are we kidding me? We can open up Virginia and get our businesses going. And small businesses suffered the most. You know, small businesses, they don't have reams of accountants and lawyers and HR executives to file paperwork and to wade through the mounds of red tape that have been piled on them. And that's why small businesses have been going under unnecessarily over the course of the last year.
Yeah.
And so we just have to get open. And then I think we actually have to create a business environment that wants to be in business. I mean, just recently, a very large company, Samsung Electronics, was looking for a place to put a U.S. manufacturing facility. And Virginia wasn't even on the list. They were choosing between Arizona, Texas, and New York. New York really frustrates me.
Yeah.
But Virginia was not even on the list. And the question is why? And the answer is Virginia's not open for business. Virginia's not working to bring companies to Virginia. And our government is just terrible at this. And so as our next governor, this is where my strength is. Get us open, grow an economy, create jobs, more opportunities than Virginians have ever seen. But what we saw in the Trump administration is when there are more jobs than people can take, it lifts up everybody.
Sure.
And this is the kind of future that Virginians deserve. And as governor, that's where I'm going to lead us.
Okay. We have a listener that sent us a question for you. It's Brad from Roanoke. He says, after investigating so much in China while at the Carlisle Group, I guess, how are you doing an about-face to show earnest conservative principles in Virginia, and how do you intend to get results instead of leaving us with hollow claims? That's Brad from Roanoke.
I want to thank Brad for that great question. I do believe that just because someone has done business in China doesn't mean that they're bad. In fact, I believe the exact opposite. I have done business in China. It was a small part of what Carlisle did, but I was good at it. I understand the art of the deal. I was good at it. I won, and I understand what the Chinese are up to. They actually have a systematic plan to take over the world. In fact, I was so good at doing business against the Chinese that President Trump thanked me when he announced the China-U.S. trade deal. He said, I want to thank Glenn Youngkin of the Carlisle Group. We stood strong behind the president to hold the ground, important ground, in order to negotiate a tough deal with the Chinese. And it was good for American businesses and American workers. And so I feel strongly that, in fact, Virginia deserves someone in the governor's office who can, in fact, take on these tough negotiations on behalf of Virginians and deliver the great outcomes we all deserve. I have constantly said I think Virginians deserve the varsity, not the JV. And those are the skill sets that, as governor, I will bring to bear on behalf of Virginians in order to make sure Virginians get the best deals, get the best outcomes, and that lift up all Virginians. And so I'm so happy that he asked that question, because this is one that I feel very strongly about.
Well, I think a lot of people, particularly in this part of Virginia, are very gun shy because of the fiasco with McAuliffe in 2014. With the promises of the China plant that was going to open up and take over the big place there in Appomattox, and of course that was just a fiasco. So,
Janet, thank you for that. I don't have any intention of actually bringing China to Virginia. My intention is, in fact, to bring our businesses home from China.
Right.
In fact, the supply chains for the pharmaceutical industry and for the electronics industry all should be re-domiciling to Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia should be the best place for these places, for these manufacturing and supply chains to come. And this is where I think we should spend our time. I think what the difference is between lifetime politicians, these career politicians that are filled with empty promises, and I know it happened in Roanoke. I know there were promises made and not kept, all kinds of press releases that Terry McAuliffe made that never materialized. And one of the things I know in my 30-year business career is you better deliver results or you're going to get fired. And by the way, that's what should happen. People should be held accountable for their promises. They should deliver results. And that's what career business people understand and career politicians don't. And as an outsider, I bring a whole fresh perspective to this. This is not about press releases and bravado. This is about hard work and results on behalf of Virginians. And as your governor, that's what I'm going to do.
So let's just say you get the nomination for the Republican, to be able to run against McAuliffe, because Janet and I both, I think, pretty much believe it'll be him. How do you run? He is a skilled politician. I don't like the guy, but you have to give him kudos. He's a skilled politician.
And things seem to roll off of him.
Yeah, nothing sticks to this guy. So how do you go up against somebody? Because he's going to know everything intimately and otherwise about you, and we'll know a lot more about you, Glenn, than we do now if Terry McAuliffe runs against you.
That's for sure.
Well, the great thing about me first is I'm a conservative outsider. I'm a man of faith. I'm a successful business leader who's built businesses and created jobs. I have a lovely family, and I have nothing to hide. So the great thing about that is I'm eager to run against Terry McAuliffe because I think he's the antithesis to all of that. And I actually can't wait to shine a scorecard up, a bright light on what really, really happened after he was governor. All of the promises made that weren't kept.
Right.
In fact, that Virginia's economy has absolutely stalled, and we have been getting our rear end kicked by Tennessee and North Carolina and South Carolina and Maryland in economic growth and jobs created. And yet our cost of living continues to escalate faster. This is a result of Terry McAuliffe, and this is a result of Ralph Northam.
Well,
we cannot afford a third term, and so I look forward to running against that.
Right.
I will resource our campaign like no other Republican campaign has been resourced to make sure that we can go head-to-head. And this is going to be an exciting summer and fall, but I do look forward to winning in November.
If we learned anything from Donald Trump, that's a guy that plays hardball. You don't come to this fight with a wiffle ball and a wiffle bat. You come to play hardball. Are you willing to play hardball? Because that's what it's going to take to win this race, I believe.
I 100% agree. And I think the key to this is that you have to, by the way, I'm 6'6", 230 pounds. And I'm looking forward to standing up straight, tall, and taking on Terry, taking on everything that we need to do in order to win.
Good.
And, yeah, I mean, I think one of the challenges is I think career politicians are really good at smiling at you and then running around the back and stabbing you in the back. And that's not the way I play. We're going to play right down the middle of the road. I'm going to call people out when they actually say things that aren't right. We're going to tell the truth. And we're going to hold people accountable. We're going to hold people accountable for what they say and what they do. And I have no problem doing that.
My whole thing here is I always respect somebody that'll stab me in the front. You know, if you've got something to say, let's just go ahead and say it. So I can appreciate that. All right. Well, we appreciate you joining us today. Glenn Youngkin, he is vying for the nomination for the GOP nomination for governor. We wish you much luck, and we appreciate you joining us here on the Morning Jam on the Virginia Talk Radio Network.
Janet, Mark, thank you for having me. I'll be on the Morning Jam anytime you'll have me, and I'll be back in Lynchburg for more cheesy westerns.
All right. Well, you let us know when you're coming back in town, and we'll have you in the studio, okay?
Thanks a bunch. Have a great day.
All right.
You too.
Be safe out there on the campaign trail. Janet, we'll have Steve Snyder on Thursday, and we're working our way through these different people that are running for
the
governor, for the nomination for the Republican Party. And we'll talk to Terry McAuliffe if he's willing. I don't know if I want to put you up against him or not.
Bring it on.
That could be fun, though. That could really, now that I'm thinking about it, that could really, really be fun.